Hello and welcome to the Tulare Public Library. Happy Earth Day to you all. Today we are here celebrating Earth Day, and to commemorate that, we are handing out a limited supply of gardening to-go bags at Card Services. So please come get yours while supplies last. If you aren't able to grab a bag with us, please keep in mind that all of the materials we'll be using today are available at the Dollar Tree. So we're hoping that provides a really accessible and inexpensive way to try out your own hand at gardening if you didn't get a chance to come pick up your bag. I'm going to show you how to plant your seed. We're going to provide some care tips as you go along, and stay tuned at the end when we'll provide some really great resources for those of you that are more interested in learning more about gardening. The reason that we chose planting a seed today is that growing your own plants has really incredible mental and emotional benefits, and I was really hoping that this would be a way for all of us to connect with nature today as we think about how lucky we are to have this planet as our home. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, everyone, so let's review the supplies that we'll need. First, we have a small amount of seed starting potting mix. This is what it looks like if you didn't get our bag and are looking for it in the Dollar Tree or elsewhere, seed starting potting mix. If you grabbed a bag, we have a pre-measured amount, so I'll let you know that we are using these tiny terracotta pots, which are really fabulous. You want to fill the potting soil to about the line I've marked in here, because you want a little space when you're watering it for the water to not overflow. So this is about as much dirt as we're using for that. I have my basil plant seeds. If you picked up a bag with us, we have just a copy of the back of the basil seed packet instructions. It will give you information about how and where they grow, about how long they take to germinate, how tall the plant can grow, etc. I also have a little popsicle stick in which I've marked 1/4 of an inch here. That's how deeply we'll be planting the seeds, so I wanted a nice guide. I've got my Sharpie here just to add a couple of things. If you have markers, any other type of paint that you'd like to use to decorate your pot or decorate your plant label stick, then you can use that as well. And then included in the grab bag as well was just a small piece of plastic wrap. New seeds that are germinating really love moist environments, so we're going to be using that to cover as our plant grows. And then off to the side here, I have a bowl, something to catch water when we first water our seed, and then I've got just a cup of water here. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to just simply pour my dirt into my terracotta pot here. Again, remember, I just want a little bit of border, so we're not filling the dirt all the way up to the top. Since I've got mine laid out, I'm just gonna go ahead and siphon and pour it like this. Slowly, carefully, as this can definitely be a dirty process. And I'm just going to kind of shake it out so it's getting flat here. All right, and you'll see that it comes to my marked line. There's still a little bit of space to be watered. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is actually water this seed starter. So the first thing I'm gonna do per the seed starting potting mix instructions is to thoroughly water the seed starting potting mix before I insert the seeds. So this is where my bowl comes in handy. I've got my cup of water here, so I'm just going to slowly pour, making sure that all surfaces are covered. And you'll notice that that water will start to drip down. There is a drainage hole under these small terracotta pots that we have. So you'll see that things start to go through. I'm actually going to use my popsicle stick to actually just kind of poke around. It looks like the water is sitting on the potting mix a bit. So to just kind of get that moving, I'm going to use my little tool here. All right, now you'll start to see some water dripping out the bottom. The water seems to be soaking in. So again, I'm just going to keep doing this until my soil is nice and moist. As much as I need, I can use my popsicle stick to kind of poke holes, make sure that that water is getting through and draining out the bottom. All right, everyone, so I skipped ahead a little bit. I will let you know that wetting the soil before you put the seeds in is probably going to be the most time-consuming part of this process. So just take your time doing it. You know, I just spent some time pouring in the water. There is only one tiny drainage hole here on the bottom. So keep that in mind. You know, it might just take a while for the water to soak through the potting soil and then make sure that it's draining there. So I just took some time and kind of mixed it up. With this, you want to keep in mind that you want the soil to be nice and moist so the seed is getting everything it needs, but you never want the seeds drowning in water. You know, so you never want water pooling up. So just do your best to kind of mix that in, and then you just want it to kind of be moist to the touch. You can kind of see here that it's soaked through without, you know, being waterlogged. So that's what we're looking for today. All right, so now I'm going to use my handy dandy 1/4-inch popsicle stick marking. And the way I'm going to use this is if I kind of dig down into the soil and I see that the 1/4-inch mark is even with the soil, I can just drop my seed to the very bottom of that popsicle stick there, and that will be about 1/4 of an inch down, which is what we need to germinate. So as these seeds can be very easy to lose and a little bit tricky, I'm going to be very, very careful with mine. So I think in the craft kits we gave everyone about 8 seeds. The way that I'm going to do my planting is to do a 1/4 turn and choose 4 different spots to plant. The reason I want to do that is because if I put all the seeds in the middle here, they're going to be really cramped and not have enough space to breathe and stretch out their roots. So I just kind of want to space them apart. And if you're noticing on the basil packaging, it does say to space your seeds apart by 1 inch each. So I'm kind of using that guidance. All right, so I've got my first seed here. It's at the bottom of my popsicle stick. And then I'm gonna move my pot about 1/4 of an inch turn, and I'm just gonna do the same thing on the outside here, put my popsicle stick line even with the top soil, and then I'm gonna drop my seed to the very bottom there. All right, one more time, 1/4 inch turn. Bring my popsicle seed, make sure I can see the bottom of the stick, and go ahead and drop my seed or seeds in there. All right, perfect. Now I'm just gonna slowly and gently cover where I have dropped my seeds so that there's topsoil over them and so that my potting soil is evenly distributed across. And then now I'm going to repurpose this popsicle stick. Again, if you have colored markers, colored pencils, anything that you would like to use to more beautifully decorate this, then of course feel free. Same goes with the terracotta pot. You can paint that, liven it up a little bit to your preferences. But I am simply going to use this as a plant marker. So I'm simply going to write at the very top of it, basil. That way, if I have other additions to my herb garden at home, I can clearly identify and know which plant is which. I got my popsicle stick a little bit wet since we were using it multi-purpose, so I hope that you can all see my writing there. Basil. So now I'm going to I can stick it in the top, and once my basil plant starts to grow, I can have a decorative label there. So before we end, I wanted to just lastly show you, so once your seeds are planted and covered, you can use this bit of plastic wrap and just gently put it on the top and cover it like so. When seedlings are starting, they like moist environments, so things that are warm and wet. So until these seedlings sprout and break the top of the soil, I want to keep them covered. Next, you want to make sure that you're placing your basil plant in a nice sunny window. Making sure that, it gets light is what's going to help create that humidity so that your plant can grow big and strong. The other pointer I wanted to give you, and I have definitely learned this firsthand as someone who's become interested in houseplants recently, is one of the mistakes that a lot of people make is to overwater. I know that was my thinking when I got my house plant. I thought to myself, well, the only thing I'm doing to take care of you is watering, so I want to make sure that I'm doing it as frequently as I can and as well as I can, but that was my mistake. So when you are checking to figure out when to water your basil plant. Of course, you can lift the saran wrap, and you just want to check with the top of your finger. You can even kind of dig your fingertip down a little bit. You don't want to water your basil plant on a daily basis because that would be too much water. Your seeds would drown and they wouldn't be able to take root in the soil. So I would definitely suggest to take a peek at it every day, but when you're thinking about watering, think about every couple of days or even more if the soil is still wet. Again, you want it to be moist to the touch, but you don't want it to be waterlogged, or you don't want there to be so much water that it's having trouble draining. Basil seeds do take about 5 to 10 days to germinate, so give it about a week and a half before you even start to expect the little green sprouts breaking the soil. And at that point, you can remove the plastic wrap for good. So once the green sprouts are up through the soil, remove the plastic wrap for good. Keep it in a sunny windowsill. And just remember to keep your eye on good water levels, so not too much, but moist enough. There's also a lot of information to be learned if you're interested in repotting this plant once it gets too big for the initial little starter pot that we're using here. And again, if you ever have questions about any of those resources, give the library a call and we're happy to help. All right, so this is our initial basil plant. I'm going to keep it like so, and the next thing I'm going to do is put mine in a sunny windowsill. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found that process of planting those seeds as soothing as I did. Best of luck to your little basil plants. I hope they all grow big and strong so that you're both learning something about gardening and you have some really fresh, delicious herbs to add to your home cooking once they're at that point. I did want to leave a quick reminder that in addition to the physical books we have in our collection about gardening, we also have a couple of digital resources that I wanted to remind you of. We do carry a digital copy of Fine Gardening magazine, which you can access with your library card through Flipster, and we also have a fabulous gardening and horticulture Gale database that you can find on our website via research and databases. I will include a slide after this that specifies how to find those if you're interested. I also wanted to give a nod to our community partner, Master Gardeners. Some of you may recognize that name if you've attended our annual gardening festivals in the past. And I'll also include their contact information as they are a great resource to reach out to if you have questions or need advice. Thank you all again so much, and we'll see you next time.